Hello, Internet. So here's the thing with them EVGA cards. I don't like them.
Bummer.
And the reason why I don't like them is because they have
6 beeps.
all sorts of weird issues that are not easily repaired, but easily identified. It's always
6 beeps.
one way or another. But regardless, today the problem is far more interesting than incorrectly reported power consumption, which is usually happening right after any of the driver MOSFETs blow up, which somehow happens to be one of those in here for whatever reason. It's almost always one here. But regardless, this is the kind of EVGA board I have never seen before. It's kind of unique, so that's why I'm making this video. I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the average EVGA board looks like, and I'm gonna put them side by side like so, and I'm gonna point in this general area, see if you can spot a difference. And the difference is this chip versus this little tiny chip, and as a matter of fact, that chip is so tiny. Oh no, I just broke my whole setup. Try again. I'm trying to glue this thing down here so I have a test fan. Yeah, super glue doesn't work. Did it dry? Oh, it's still there. So basically I'm trying to attach this to the fan so I can have a fan to test with, but it doesn't seem to work very well. But regardless, so let's go and take a closer look at this general area here, and you'll see what I mean. And right there, this is where that little tiny chip used to be. I removed it. There was nothing special about it, but it was shorted. And now the question is, what is the failure rate of the regular chip that you get on the board versus this one? Well, how many EVGA cards that I got had this chip failed? Probably once. And how many EVGA cards that I had with this chip that failed? Well, this is the first one and it already failed. So that to me is like 100% failure rate. So yeah, I don't know if this is like a prototype or something, or some kind of a newest revision. I'm not exactly sure. Here's a serial number if you care about it. There. Yeah, maybe you can figure this out, what year it was made. I don't care. So but regardless, the card would power on and it would short 12 volt, but it would short it in such a way that it seems like one of the driver MOSFETs failing, but that wasn't the case whatsoever. So I ended up removing this stupid chip, and it booted, and it worked. Now, the dilemma with the EVGAs is that now, because this chip controls the fan that's plugged into the blue port, not only will lose the LEDs, but we're also losing the control of the fan. So now I have to figure out how do I go about fixing this. And my plan is as old as myself. That is, I'm going to take a PWM signal and the RPM signal, and I'm going to steal it. Well, not going to steal it, I'm going to duplicate it. And well, no, I'm not going to bother with the RPM. I'm going to steal the PWM signal, and I'm going to clone it over to this one, cutting this one off, obviously, so it doesn't go anywhere. So we'll see how that goes. And the reason why I don't want to duplicate the RPM is because if I'm feeding RPM data from both fans, that's not going to be good. So I want to be reading the RPM only from one fan, not two. And if for some magic reasons the RPM from this fan is somehow, I don't know, I haven't looked, or routed straight into the core as opposed to into the controller, which then reports the RPM to the core, then we might even see the correct RPM on that fan separately. But as far as the, the percentage that the fan is set to, it's going to be controlled by this one. So let's see if I can, I mean, it's kind of glued, yeah. So let's go and plug it in. Here's the thing. So you power it on, and the fan goes to the max. Woo. See, right there. It just goes to the max. If you plug it into any other port, it's gonna go slow. Oh, that goes to the max too. All right. What about this port here? Oh, this one's go to the max too. Okay, whatever. Let's take the cooler and plug all three fans and see what they do, because I do not want to be looking like an idiot today. I'll be okay with it tomorrow though, but not today. So let's do this, see what the fans are doing. Okay, incredible, all fans are maxing out. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and disconnect them, or maybe let's go and situate the board and disconnect it from here, and instead let's go and power this thing on by the motherboard and see how differently the board will behave when it's powered by the motherboard. And let's see what happens when we flip the switch. All right, all fans are blowing at 100%.
Bummer.
So the problem is even worse. It turns out every single fan is now blowing at 100%. Isn't that great? Now I wonder if that's going to do the exact same thing once we load the drivers. So let's remove the goggles because this is clearly not normal. I don't think they're supposed to remove the goggles. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the goggles. Looks like we don't have a choice here after all. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's connect the LED so it doesn't remove the goggles, even though it's not gonna work. And plug in the fans. Yeah, so far I'm actually surprised, or puzzled rather, to see that all fans are blowing at 100%. My expectation was that they would, the only two would spin slow, but it looks like all three of them are spinning crazy. Not sure why that is. Here, here, and here. Go and plug this thing into the, leave it on, plug it into the riser. Okay, so we're gonna plug this thing into the riser, remove the goggles as before. So right now all fans are going nuts at 100%, and hopefully once the drivers load, they will calm down. But I don't know, we'll get to the bottom of this eventually anyway. Alright, let's go over in the GPU-Z and let's see what the RPMs. So it says that the fan speeds are 30%, but they're blowing at 100 at maximum RPM, and the RPMs are not registering. So whatever the problem is, it probably screwed up the RPM, either the RPM or the PWM circuit, which I really hope has nothing to do with the core. That is, we don't need to reball it, but I don't know. A lot of times when the fins go haywire like this, that usually followed by a reball. So, but who knows? Let's test this thing one by one, see what's going on. For some reasons I doubt that this controller here actually is responsible for controlling every single one of these fans. So this just doesn't sound right. My understanding was that it only controls one, and the LEDs. But the other two fans were supposed to be controlled by the core and or the BIOS or whatever, you know, not the firmware on the chip. But for some reasons we're getting them stuck at 100%. So let's do some digging and see what's going on. First order of business is I want to look around, see what went wrong here. Maybe when I removed the goggles I shorted something. I highly doubt it, but who knows. Yeah, I don't see anything shorted.
The short is gone.
I can probably start poking around with the oscilloscope. Let's figure out which one of these pins here is what. So first, remove the goggles, and we're going to be poking around with the oscilloscope. You know, the oscilloscope that the Northridge Fix said you do not need to repair consumer electronics. He is 100% right. He absolutely does not need an oscilloscope to repair consumer electronics. He just doesn't know how to use it. Who cares? Alright, there's your oscilloscope. So let's go ahead and probe the first pin. See how far the arrow will jump. No jump, ground. I just want to know what's what. So the second pin was 12 volt. So, and then the other two are either the RPM and the tachometer pins. Okay, so we're good. Let's check the third pin from the left. See what it does. Flat line. Okay, what about this? Flat line. Okay, what does that mean? I have no idea. Let's figure out which one of these is the RPM. So we're gonna plug in the fan. Hopefully it's not gonna fly away. Are you gonna fly away or are you not? I have no idea. Let's see if I can. I really should have thought this through, but I didn't. Let's see if I can get a bottle full of solder balls. Let's see what this thing does. Let's see which pin is what. So we're checking 1, 2, 3, third pin. So what are we getting? Let's go ahead and adjust the trigger for the scope, and let's change this. So this is probably RPM. So let's slow the fan down, turn it on, and as you can see, the RPM is reading. Okay, the RPM is reading and the tachometer, but the PWM, I want a good square wave, but I'm not getting. See, I'm not getting a square wave. The RPM is a flat line, or the PWM. Okay, so let's check the PWM. See, I want the PWM to be a square wave. And I want the tachometer to change exactly the way we've seen before, like this. It starts wide and then it narrows down as it goes faster. So one more time. See, it goes wide and then it shrinks as the fan goes faster. So, but the PWM pin, the last one on the right, it's not supposed to be a flat line. It's supposed to be a pulse, kind of like this. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to see. But I want to see that here. And I don't. See, no matter what I do, I'm not getting that. So we're definitely having a problem with the PWM pin for every single fan.
No fix.
So what I'm going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and open some kind of a board view. And the board view will be something along the lines of any kind of 3090. So I'm just going to be poking around pretty much any kind of 3090 that resembles what we're looking at. Nothing. Oh well, this one kind of looks is it? I mean, we got, yeah, this one is kind of the same. I don't know what this component here in the middle is. Some kind of a MOSFET here in the middle. I don't know. So let's go ahead and we're gonna have to figure this out. So what do we got going on here? So we got ground, we got 12, and then we got the tachometer, right? That's correct. That's what the thing says. And then the PWMs are all messed up. So my best guess is that the PWM comes from the U gate, this guy here. So let's go and check for input 1, input 2, and let's see what's on the VCC pin. The output is going to go into this fan, and the output of this guy goes into this fan. And something went along the way somewhere before these two guys, I would imagine, because they both seem to be acting the same. So my guess is that it looks like they're supposed to be going under the core, but it looks like we might have a secondary problems here before that. So we can look into inputs and then VCC and then see what's on the output. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here is our multimeter. No, that's not a multimeter. You want the multimeter. Here's the multimeter for you. There. All right. Do you see it? No, you don't.
And remove the goggles.
There's your multimeter. Now you pay me. Let's confirm the theory that this U-gate controls PWM on this pin. See? Dead short. That is correct. What about this one? That is also correct. So we're expecting to have problems either here. Do we have a short on... No, we do not. Short here? No. Short on the inputs? No. Short on these inputs? No.
Magical.
So what do we have on the output of this U-gate, which will be the same as reading it here? So let's check here. So we're reading 3.3 volt, and what's on the input? 1.8 ECC. Yeah, so we basically have everything. It seems like it's working right. So the U-gate isn't the problem. This one's working. Both inputs are linked together. Yeah, so nothing, there's no issue here.
But we still have 6 beefs.
Basically, we're not getting the PWM.
It's personal now.
And it is basically not coming from the core, it seems. So it is possible that I might have to reball the core to restore the PWM connection because at this point it's going to be nearly impossible to figure out what's wrong with this thing. Let's not
remove the goggles
just yet. I want to know where is the source for the PWM signal. What goes into these two pins? Where is the resistor? Because if you look at the board view, this the inputs supposed to be come from straight to the core, and then they get pulled, then they get connected to the 1.8 with a pull-up resistor. Since we're reading 1.8, we're probably okay. But I don't know where that resistor is though, and this is just 3.3 volt. Yeah. And so theoretically, since we're getting 1.8 volt here, that means that if the pull-up resistor does exist on the board, wherever it may be located, it's probably working since we're getting 1.8 volt. But for whatever reason, we're not getting any connection with the core. What's interesting though is while the PWM controlling pin under the core is 300 miles away, kind of makes me wonder. You can see these two. These two are fan A and fan B. They are miles away. Do they not reach both of the U-gates? That's highly unlikely, all things considered, but I cannot eliminate that either. And because if you think about this, if there's any kind of damaged pads under the core, the very first one will be the ones on the edges. They would not, there's no way that so far deep under the core, just these two pads fail. However, one possible explanation for this would be that the fan controls, I know for a fact that they can fail internally, may have failed inside the core rather than on the board itself. And in that case,
no fix. What can you do?
There is no PWM fan C to which we could connect or duplicate in order to fix the card. So that's very unfortunate. So let's see. Yeah, so there's only PWM A and PWM B. That's it. There's no PWM C. So, and since they're both malfunctioning, that's, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what I ended up doing now is I went on the back of the board and I removed these resistors here, thinking that they might be the ones that are connecting 1.8 volt to the inputs of the U-gates. Now let's see if we're still having 1.8 volt at the U-gate by measuring here. Still getting 1.8. What about you? Still getting 1.8. Let's go and flip the board, see if we can find them slightly differently. Yeah, that's the one. But why removing... Wait a minute, that makes no sense. Okay, so we actually did it right, but why are we still getting 1.8 volt? That makes no sense. Okay, so the other one is here. Okay, so the other one is there. So let's go and remove that resistor real quick. Let's see. This resistor here. Yeah, let's go and remove that real quick. All right, so with that, theoretically, since we've disconnected every resistor, that could potentially lead to that, except this one maybe, I don't know what it is. It could be enabled for the 3.3 auxiliary chip, don't know. Let's see if we're still getting a 1.8 volt on that thing here. Let's see if we're still getting 1.8 volt here. Yeah, we're still getting 1.8 volt, and here, so we're still getting 1.8 volt, which means that we are connected to the core. The pull-up resistor is no longer there, and the PWM is still flatline.
We are done. If the customer is watching, he's gonna be as excited as I am.
So with the resistors removed, I can confirm
No fix.
the problem is originating at the core, inside the core rather than on the board level, which means there's nothing I can do about this. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder all the good stuff back on the board, tell the customer great news, and tell them to stop buying EVGA cards. They are not as good as you think. So alternatively, probably the last resort, the very last, well, not the very last, but one of the last things that I can do in this situation is I can
Remove the goggles.
order that chip. It's not going to be cheap because it's kind of unique. Wait a month for it to arrive, and then when it finally does, we might be able to
Remove the goggles.
and get the fan PWM controls off of the third fan, and we might be able to control all three fans with just one PWM signal. So that's perfectly doable, and only if replacing this chip will actually help. So until then, I won't know, and if that doesn't help, then this is it. There's nothing else I can do. It seems like the damage seems like its voltage may have shot through the chip straight into the core, and here we are having another EVGA day. So we're done here for the day. Based on what I've seen, disconnecting the pull-ups from the U-gates inputs, still showing 1.8 volt, which means
No fix.
it comes straight from the core, which means
No fix.
the problem is in the core, which means
No fix.
this little chip had damaged the PWM pulse width modulator circuit inside the core, and not to mention it killed both of them. So how do I go about fixing this? No idea. We have essentially no PWM signal coming from the core. Alternatively, since the third fan is controlled by this chip, as far as I know, the only possible solution to have a dynamically controlled fans is to solder a new chip, and if that revives the controls for the third fan, then we'll be able to snag the PWM signal and clone it across all three of these fans, and leaving the tachometers intact, in which case we'll be able to see speeds of all fans, RPMs of all fans, but the actual speed will be controlled, will be defined by a single fan controller here. In either case, EVGA should not have been tampering with the fan controls, but they did, and here we are having this problem that shouldn't have existed in the first place. So
No fix.
I'm gonna go ahead and probably order the chip as the last hope. Otherwise, customer's gonna have to control his fan speeds differently. Probably put this thing in a water block or something. I have no idea, because right now there's just no way, since the fan controls or circuit is basically dead inside the core, and it's not a board problem, so I can't fix broken cores. And if it wasn't for the EVGA, this core probably would have worked just fine on any other board. Goodbye. Since you're still here, I ended up testing the board one more time, and the fans is spinning correctly. The ones that are on the left, except the one on the right, obviously. Why that is, I have no idea, and I'm guessing that we have a solder joint that's broken under the core, and rebolling it will probably work. So as you can see here, this one's spinning slow. If we plug it into the third one, it goes to the max. So my best guess, broken solder joint under the core. After all that time, I'm losing it here. Better get me a like.